Hi, my name is Reed Wilson. After my father died from diabetes, it became the main focus throughout my career as a medical researcher. I'm going to share the 5 reasons thousands of people just like you have been able to naturally reverse their diabetes. Even though this may sound impossible right this moment, after you hear everything I have to share, like thousands of deeply grateful people have before you, your doctor, friends, and family will be shocked at the staggering recovery your body goes through. How fasting blood sugar readings of 300, 400, and even 500 return to normal, how your medications and insulin doses can be drastically reduced, and in many cases, eliminated sooner than they ever imagined, and how you can say goodbye to endless worrying over meal plans, carbohydrate counting, finger stick checks, pills, injections, lab tests, prescriptions, supplies, and doctor's appointments. But before you see how they are doing it, I ask that you set aside your disbelief, because the steps they took challenge everything we're told about treating diabetes today. Reason number 1, they exercise less. Yes, that's right. Even though their doctors told them they have to start exercising to lose weight, I told them that different people react to exercise in different ways. Most people who are overweight and diagnosed with diabetes will actually spike their blood sugar and make their diabetes worse if they exercise too much. With the right kind of exercise, done for the right length of time, like the kind that the University of Virginia and Ohio State University tested, and found decreases A1C by up to 27%, drops inflammation by 41%, and lowered cholesterol by 20%. They are going to start waking up to lower and lower fasting glucose readings and will be more likely to keep doing it. Reason number 2, they ate a lot more carbs. Yeah, I know, when you're diabetic, carbs are the enemy. At least that's what they want you to believe. Well, that is false. Some carbs are bad, but other kinds of carbs are not only good for diabetics, they can actually help reverse it. Like the smart carbs that shocked researchers at Duke University when they reduced and completely eliminated the need for diabetic medications. These are just one of the many different types of carbs that have been proven to improve blood sugar and insulin production. Reason number 3, they stopped trying to lose weight. One of the first things a doctor will tell you once you're diagnosed with diabetes is you need to lose weight. One of the biggest myths alive is that obesity, or excess weight, is the primary cause of type 2 diabetes. In a landmark study at UCLA, researchers were shocked to find that patients reversed their type 2 diabetes without losing a significant amount of weight. Many of them were even clinically obese when they reversed their diabetes. Reason number 4, they stopped treating their diabetes as a genetic or hereditary condition. Sure, their parents had it, and their uncles and aunts have it, and maybe their poodle has it. But diabetes is not, I repeat, not hereditary. Japan has long been a shining example of optimum health, low rates of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and virtually non-existent incidence of diabetes. Yet, a study at University of Washington revealed that Japanese who immigrated to the U.S. saw their rates of type 2 diabetes go up by a staggering 400%. Yet by focusing on the true cause of their diabetes, which I'll reveal, anyone from any race can manage or reverse their diabetes. Reason 5, they focused all their efforts at attacking the true source of diabetes. Diabetes is now a global epidemic, and there are no signs of slowing down. If you already have been diagnosed with diabetes, you are already feeling the threat of it getting worse, or worried about diabetes cousins, heart disease, blindness, diabetic neuropathy, amputation, and impotence. If $300 billion a year is now spent on studying, diagnosing, and treating this disease, and all we hear from doctors is there's nothing you can do but manage it, or we have to start you on medication, you may be wondering if the experts are more interested in managing your symptoms than finding the true source of diabetes and reversing it. I think you couldn't be more correct. You see, the truth is that your body already has the natural ability to normalize your blood sugar and regulate your insulin. In fact, your body is trying to do it every minute of the day. It's even trying to do it right now. And anyone can release this miraculous healing force within your body by attacking the true underlying root cause of your diabetes. In fact, after uncovering over hundreds of documented clinical studies dating back over a decade, there is a simple fact that, once we accept it, will allow you to open the door to dramatically reducing or eliminating your type 2 diabetes. But not only that, because this hidden root cause of diabetes is so fundamental and operates at a deep cellular level, it can also dramatically improve high blood pressure, arthritis, cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, and all the risk factors connected with diabetes. What's this hidden menace stalking millions of Americans today? It's called cytokine storm. It's a story that actually started several decades ago. Time and time again, scientists repeatedly noticed that people with type 2 diabetes were also heavily inflamed throughout their bodies. After studying the blood samples of thousands of diabetics, they saw that diabetic sufferers were inflamed because their body fluids were rife with inflammatory chemicals. These chemicals are called cytokines. Like a glaring road sign in a dark night, cytokines are the key indicator of how much inflammation a person's body has. That's because their main role within your body is to trigger inflammation. The more cytokines they can find in you, the more inflammation you're experiencing, whether you realize it's happening or whether you don't. Now, you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with my diabetes? Well, the magazine Scientific American explains it like this. In the early 1990s, researchers at Harvard University discovered one major source of diabetes called cytokines. They found high levels of cytokines in the fat tissue of rats with type 2 diabetes. And when they bred obese rats that could not make cytokine, diabetes did not develop in the animals. So to make that crystal clear, when cytokines didn't exist, diabetes did not exist. But what about humans, you ask? Well, it goes on to say, researchers have since shown that cytokines, and more generally inflammation, makes the human body less responsive to insulin and increases the risk for insulin resistance. Yet, this is just the beginning. That's because an inflammatory feedback loop is created. It's where inflammation, which is caused by the increase of cytokines, creates insulin resistance, and the insulin resistance, in turn, causes more cytokines to form. It's a vicious cycle that keeps the disease alive and Americans dependent on medication, insulin injections, and a constant threat of things getting far worse. H. Henry Dong and his colleagues at the University of Pittsburgh states, inflammation and insulin resistance reinforce each other via a positive feedback loop. Long story short, it's a deadly cycle of inflammation causing diabetes, and diabetes turning around and fueling inflammation. It's a perpetual cycle, but that's not all. If you look at this video, it is a perfect picture of the chain reaction that cytokines create in your body. You see, cytokines trigger other cytokines to activate and inflame your cells. A constant chain reaction occurs and self-perpetuates, making you a slave to diabetic treatment. This is why I call it the cytokine storm. And when you have cytokines creating inflammation which causes insulin resistance, and insulin resistance causes more cytokines to form, and when they act like ping pong balls in that little video above, is it any wonder that it's the greatest threat to our lives today, where those who have this plague have up to 400% greater chance of heart attack or stroke, where heart disease and stroke cause about 65% of deaths among people with diabetes, where 84,000 people have diabetes-related leg and foot amputations each year, where 38,000 people with diabetes develop kidney failure each year, where each year 12,000 to 24,000 people become blind because of diabetic eye disease, including diabetic retinopathy, where 70% of adult males with diabetes currently suffer or will experience sexual impotence. As you now know, when you attack inflammation, your body regains its ability to normalize its own blood sugar. You don't have to be chained to medication, injections, blood sugar monitors, and you don't have to watch your diet like a hawk for the rest of your life. Many studies from all parts of the globe are proving that reducing inflammation is the key to reversing your diabetes if you're a type 2. One of those landmark studies was done at none other than UCLA. The UCLA study found that a staggering 71% of type 2 non-insulin dependent patients were able to completely stop taking their medication and reverse their diabetes in just 3 weeks by using a simple, inexpensive, utterly safe, non-drug approach. In addition to that, all the participants found their high blood pressure moving to normal ranges. In fact, 34% had their medication discontinued. It didn't end there. Their cholesterol levels plummeted by 22%. Now, that's just one study. The more I researched, the longer the list got. The esteemed American Journal of Clinical Nutrition published a study where diabetics were able to reduce their insulin by a whopping 57%, and that occurred in just over 2 weeks. And there's the University of Kentucky Metabolic Research Group. In this study, 96% of type 2 diabetics were able to completely stop all insulin injections. After reducing their inflammation levels, 81% of patients in a study done at Loma Linda University eliminated the torture of their diabetic neuropathy. A diabetic expert named Dr. Fedon Lindbergh, who focuses on treating diabetes with nutrition, is quoted as saying, Patients who were injecting high doses of insulin, as many as 200 units daily, have managed to quit insulin and come off medications for blood pressure and other conditions. I could go on all day. What's important to know right now is that diabetes is connected to many other horrific illnesses and diseases, many of which can be fatal, if not extremely painful. Heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney failure, blindness caused by retinal neuropathy, limb amputations caused by diabetic neuropathy. Diabetes is the gateway disease to all of them. So when you start to reverse or severely reduce your diabetes condition, especially with the methods you're about to hear, you do the same for many other devastating illnesses as well. Respected institutions like the University of Oxford and the National Institute for Public Health have found that reducing high levels of inflammation also reduces your risk of cancer by an incredible 67%, reduces cholesterol by 25 to 30%, as much as statin drugs without the risky side effects, reduces high blood pressure by as much as half, and reduces the risk of fatal heart attack by 70%. The bottom line, when you fix your inflammation, you don't just fix diabetes, you fix your health. Now, even though all those studies produced mind-boggling results, there was one major problem with them. It's one thing to be a subject in a study, where you meet someone and report to them like clockwork. Also, in some of those studies, the diets that were used were pretty limiting. In the real world, you're on your own. You have pressures, stresses, and bills to pay, and you're assaulted with temptation everywhere you turn. Plus, each of those studies use some different method or technique. So I gathered them all up and synthesized them into a simple, uncomplicated system anyone in today's world can follow and still feel normal. I worked with some well-known chefs that use modern cooking methods so that people could eat their favorite foods, like pasta, steak, beef stews, rich, thick, and sweet chocolate shakes, and so much more. When I suggested these changes to patients as a complement to their medical diabetic treatment, the same thing happened each time. Blood sugar levels were returning to a healthy normal. Type 2s were going off their medications. Blood pressure and digestion was improving. Sleep was getting deeper. Energy was skyrocketing. Eyesight was improving. Sensation was coming back to their feet and legs, while pain and numbness melted away. Cholesterol and triglyceride levels were plummeting to normal, and excess weight was falling off the overweight, and those who were underweight were gaining lean, strong, firm physiques again. As word spread, people came to me out of the woodwork for help. I admired these people. They were at the end of their ropes, alone, afraid, frustrated, but they still had the courage to try something new. To me, they were heroes. Now, after years of improving and streamlining things, these heroes have turned into an army, and each of their stories fills me with both pride and an urgency to reach out to more people. Eve is one of those heroes. When she came to see me, she was afraid, anxious, and worried. When she was diagnosed with diabetes, her blood sugar reading was over 450. She was having problems with her eyesight, high blood pressure, and constant digestion problems. But what brought her to me was the pins and needles she was starting to feel through her legs. After doing her reading, she knew what this would lead to, and the thought of developing foot sores or even gangrene and possibly getting an amputation was the final straw that pushed her over the edge. I told her, in no uncertain terms, you have to do what it takes to turn this around. Every day you wait is a day you place your life at risk. You can't be complacent anymore. She followed the system, and a few weeks later, she was a different person altogether. Not only was her glucose reading between 100 and 110, she had lost 15 pounds, was sleeping better, and virtually all her other ailments had vanished. Blood pressure was normal, no more hypertension symptoms, eyes clear as a bell. And her digestion was, in her words, the best it's ever been. My stomach is getting so flat now. A few weeks after that, her fasting blood sugar and her A1C reading were at non-diabetic levels and has remained that way ever since. And then there's the story of James, whose mother wanted to find a way of making his life easier. James was diagnosed after his 4th birthday when he ended up in the emergency room for a severe case of hyperglycemia. For the last few years, after the family all recovered from the shock of the diagnosis and all the changes they had to make in their daily routine, James was able to live a fairly regular life. He played baseball, rode his bike with his friends, played video games. But even though it seemed everything was normal, it wasn't. And I'm not just talking about him having to lug around his diabetes bag everywhere, and remembering to always tell someone when he felt low. There was the constant worry of him having an episode that could land him in the ER again. What if the people he was with didn't know what to do, or didn't know what the symptoms were? Living with diabetes is living with a gun pointed at your head. You're always vigilant. Even though James had taken thousands of injections, he still had moments where he dreaded them. Susie, his mom, didn't blame him. That's what made her look for answers, and she was brave enough to try different things out. When she tried my system out, it only took a few weeks for her doctor to say it was okay to stop the injections. This was James's true birthday. It was when his life actually started. And then there's Steve. Too was scared, desperate, and alone. His father suffered a stroke, and for the most part, his dad had recovered. But he had a slur in his speech, and the right side of his body was very uncoordinated. All things considered, Steve considered that a good result. But what upset him more than anything was when he read a release by the FDA that the diabetes medication his dad was taking was shown to increase the risk of heart failure. The more he researched all the diabetes drugs out there, the more he wanted his dad off the medications. He felt being chained to medication was like his dad only had a choice between diabetes, disability, or death. After following my system, which is easy to follow, his dad's hypertension and high blood pressure was back to normal. He didn't need blood pressure meds anymore. His sky-high cholesterol went down to just above normal, and finally, his fasting glucose readings were normal. He didn't need any meds at all. Now, if you're thinking these are some rare, random incidents, you'd be mistaken. You'll be hearing many of them tell you theirs themselves in a second. The truth behind reversing diabetes comes from eliminating or even reducing inflammation deep on a cellular level and strengthening your body's ability to produce and use insulin at the same time. But with the avalanche of inflammation-causing foods, ingredients, additives, and chemicals flooding our lives, how do you actually do that? Great question. Now, here's the real answer. There is a loophole. There are ways to systematically, predictable, and consistently reduce inflammation using 100% natural methods. Like I said, I'm Reed Wilson, and if you'll allow me to, I'd like to share with you the power of eliminating cellular inflammation and calming, cooling, and soothing the body at the deepest levels. As a researcher, I have seen too many people suffer the ravages of this insidious illness. It is truly the modern-day Black Plague. We simply cannot go on without looking for alternative solutions. After condensing, simplifying, and consolidating all the methods used in those landmark studies I mentioned earlier, all the results I was achieving before went to a whole new level. Not only were people reversing diabetes or pre-diabetes, they were dramatically lowering high blood pressure, lowering high cholesterol levels, improving irritable bowel syndrome or any digestive issues, losing pounds and inches, and skyrocketing their energy levels. And they were doing it in record time while effortlessly maintaining their diabetes-free lifestyles. And that's what I'm here to share with you today. When you master this simple concept, you'll be astonished that something so simple can do so much, if you know how. I want to show you how, and why your body is already a powerful healing machine, and how to wake up its diabetes-destroying ability moments after using it. I'd like to share all the latest breakthroughs my team and I have been able to uncover, like how certain baked goods can actually help diminish and even reverse type 2 diabetes. And they're delicious. Maybe even addicting. You'll discover their healing secret on page 89. Foods that turn off diabetes genes. When people with type 2 ate these foods, their blood sugar improved so much they were able to reduce their medication dose. This research was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. In another study at Harvard Medical School, these same diabetes-fighting foods even reversed a genetic tendency towards diabetes. That's on page 134. A group of smart carbs that I describe on page 53 that shocked researchers at Duke University when they reduced and completely eliminated the need for diabetic medications. A breakfast recipe that lowers blood sugar a whopping 600%. You'll find this on page 63. The exercise that the University of Virginia and Ohio State University tested and found decreased A1C by up to 27%, dropped their inflammation by 41%, and lowered cholesterol by 20%. That's on page 134. On page 72, you'll discover the diabetes destroyer on a plate. Type 2s who added this tasty food to their diet slashed their need for medication. And in some cases, completely eliminated their insulin dose. A natural compound discovered by USDA scientists called MHCP, which removes excess glucose from your bloodstream by making your cells more sensitive to insulin's action. It's easy to find, costs a few cents a week, and your kids will love it. How to literally walk off your diabetes. A national study revealed that walking a certain length of time lengthened the life of diabetics by an astonishing 39%, regardless of age, weight, and health. Which foods are better than fruits and veggies for reversing your type 2? A common everyday food on page 87 that you can find in any salad bar that resensitizes your cells to insulin. And what does that mean for you? More energy, less body fat, normal glucose levels. Diabetes comfort food carbs. Yes, these yummy carbohydrate foods are perfect for your blood sugar. I want to show you the easy way to make sure your body cells are open and ready to receive and utilize your glucose from your bloodstream, so you not only keep your blood sugar glued to optimal ranges, you start to convert that blood sugar to energy instead of body fat. I also want to show you the powerful and life-changing stories of other regular people like you and me who have faced the most dire and even fatal diabetes conditions and turned it around using the simple home-based method you will have in your hands. But most of all, I want to share with you the incredible, powerful tools for putting out the raging cellular fire that is skyrocketing your blood sugar, damaging your pancreas, and holding you hostage to finger pricks, never-ending worry, and the threat of things getting worse. And the best part? You'll do it all as soon as tonight, without having to travel to a specialist, without having to pay for expensive treatments, and without having to haggle with insurance. How? By introducing you to a simple, easy-to-use system in my book called the Diabetes Loophole. As I mentioned before, the Diabetes Loophole takes all those diabetes reversing studies and condenses them into a simple, uncomplicated program that laser targets the Achilles heel of diabetes: inflammation. First, you'll be receiving the Diabetes Loophole step-by-step manual, your complete guide to reverse diabetes naturally and without any side effects. The first thing you'll learn in the manual are the different kinds of foods you can easily get right now, so you can begin your road to dominant health or help someone you care about end the suffering they are enduring right now. This will be a boost your body's been begging for. Next, I'll show you which hidden diabetes triggers that your body has been, and still is, exposed to for decades. Even though they have only recently been discovered, they have been pumped into our environment for decades. These aren't just toxins, genetically altered Frankenstein food, and chemical additives. No. I'm also talking about chemicals used in household products that we come into contact with every day, and they silently destroy your body's ability to optimize insulin and sugar in your body. You see, the truth is, we're drowning in an ocean of diabetes-causing chemicals. But now, you have the life raft to make it to a sunny shore. In fact, I'll bet you'll be surprised how easy it is to start removing these toxic elements. Not only will you be detoxing your body, you'll be detoxing your environment as well. And the best part, it's easier to do now than it ever was. Strict labeling laws are making it easier to spot what to keep and what to ditch. Remember, by doing this, you are not only helping yourself, you're helping everyone around you. Last, we'll get to the lifestyle section. You'll discover the latest and surprising research on lifestyle factors like stress, sleep, exercise, recuperation, and even laughter, and how they affect your blood sugar. These simple inflammation-relieving and blood sugar-regulating tweaks and adjustments are so easy to apply to yourself, you'll wonder why it's been kept in the dark for so long. You'll have in your hand an exact regimen you can follow, that thousands have followed before you, to soothe all your cells with the healing nutrients 24 hours a day, even as you sleep. And how to use your maintenance routine once your diabetes is either reversed or improved far beyond your current level. You can watch your health, your energy, your well-being experience a resurgence once all these triggers have been removed. If you have a diabetes condition you've been told is incurable, that nothing can be done about it, that it's just the way it is, that you have no other option than to manage the symptoms, now, here are more of my heroes to tell their stories. This book saved my friend's leg and possibly his life. I bought this book years ago to help a friend of mine. When I learned about his diabetes, he was on the verge of amputating his right leg. His doctor had told him he needed to cut his leg to save him. He already had amputated all his toes then. I gave him the book as a last resort. After the first 10 days, his blood sugar level, which used to be 350 to 400, dropped to around 100. He reported this to his doctor and declared that he did not need the surgery. Today, he is as healthy as any normal person. I highly recommend this book not only to diabetics, but also to anyone who is interested in preventing diabetes and being healthy. That was Sydney. Now, here's Debbie from Arlington, Virginia. My husband has been treated for type 2 diabetes for about 5 years now. He has been progressively escalating medications with insulin injections in his near future. Nothing we were doing was stabilizing his blood glucose reads until we took a chance on this book. His readings went from 285 2 hours after meals down to 122 after meals in just 2 weeks without any meds. His blood glucose readings, which were inexplicably spiking like crazy before this diet, have become consistent and are dropping a few points every day. We still have a ways to go, but I am so thankful that we found this book. If you are looking for a way off all the meds, give this a try. You won't regret it. Once you use this method properly, you'll be shocked as you see the physical reactions that prove your blood sugar, your high blood pressure, your fatigue, your digestion is improving. Here's my promise to you. When you follow this system and put it into action, you'll be astounded by what you see. You'll stare and wonder at the number of your glucose reading. Or when your doctor looks at your blood test results, he'll stand there baffled, scratching his head, saying, "This is not possible. Your diabetes is not supposed to reverse." I'm going to share some amazing success stories with you now. But before I do, some of you may be asking, okay, so how do I get started? So let me just ask you a question. How much is it worth to you to protect yourself and the people you love from what Time magazine calls the silent killer? Or how much would you pay to never have to take diabetes medication again? To not have to prick your finger again? To not have to use injections ever again? To not have to worry about diabetic complications again? To have the secret code that makes your body the kind that allows you and your loved ones to reap all the joy life has to offer, and avoid spending the last decades of your life crippled and dependent on drugs and medication. How much would you pay to be able to provide for your family, for your wife or husband, your children, without fear of diabetes getting worse and permanently disabling you? If you're like all the others, you'd pay a lot. After all, the American Diabetes Association states that a typical American who is diagnosed with diabetes at 65 will have to spend an extra $43,900 over his or her lifetime. If diagnosed at 60, they'd have to spend an extra $70,200. If diagnosed at 50, they'd have to spend an extra $135,600. If diagnosed at 40, they'd have to spend a staggering $211,400 on medical expenses over their lifetime. Well, I've got some really good news for you. The fact is that the diabetes loophole has been proven again and again to help diminish or reverse diabetes time and again. Proven to give you the choice of being a slave to illness and a slave to suffering, to the freedom to you living the way we were designed to live. Free to choose, free to be healthy, free to be rid of disease. That should make an investment of several $100s seem like a bargain. But because you're getting it here early, if you act right now, you can download the Diabetes Loophole and all 5 bonuses for the tiny sum of $37. Just by itself, the Diabetes Loophole manual will change your life. Even people who didn't have diabetes saw immediate mental focus, calmness, energy, endurance, and well-being. But because I want to give you an unfair advantage over the medical and insurance system and help you have the kind of full, exciting life you deserve, I'm also going to include these scientifically verified reports when you order today. You should pay attention because this is truly groundbreaking. When I was researching the Diabetes Loophole, I researched dozens of foods and ingredients and stumbled across newly discovered superfoods that knock insulin resistance down faster than anything we've seen. When you combine these powerhouse foods with the Diabetes Loophole, get ready to see some astonishing changes. You'll be getting this 100% free included with your purchase today. Another discovery that just about knocked me off my chair came from studying societies and cultures where diabetes was virtually non-existent. It was like finding the secrets to regulating blood sugar through food that cultures and societies with the least illnesses eat every day. And I compiled it into this bonus. These are easy and yes, delicious recipes that clean and detoxify your blood, clean the fluids in your body, and make it even easier for your cells to regain their optimal health. Imagine slurping a rich, sweet, cold, chocolate shake, or frappuccino for breakfast. Well, you can have it anytime you want. But this one is made of foods that are diabetes fighting, full of antioxidants, full of protein, and most importantly, full of deliciousness. Most people, and even other doctors who read this, are shocked at the information I discovered. When you grab your copy of the Diabetes Loophole today, you'll get the anti-inflammatory diet completely free. The third bonus you're getting for free once you order today is all about the sneaky yet dangerous ways your blood sugar is being spiked. It is not always from food. In fact, some of these triggers are foods that everyone is touting as a health food, and some others are labeled as diabetes safe. But if you fall into the affected zone, these are not safe. They are diabetes deadly. Yours free with your order. Bruce from Virginia was shocked at what he found. I couldn't believe trigger number 4 was spiking my blood sugar. It never made sense to me. I'd be religious with my diet and my glucose reading would be under control. Then out of the blue, I was close to passing out. Now I know what was making my blood sugar spike. Why don't doctors tell me this? Now for the next bonus. Let me ask you a question. Would it not be amazing to never worry about eating desserts and sweets as a diabetic? Better yet, how would you like to have these sweets and desserts speed up the healing process? Well, the desserts and treats in the bonus would fool the most sugar-addicted people into thinking it was doused with sugar and carbs, but they aren't. Alternative health is a big business now. There are more and more sugar substitutes that have zero effect on your insulin and zero effect on your blood sugar. And this bonus shows you recipes that create dishes that contain the tastes, textures, colors, and flavors as the original. Listen to what Deborah had to say. This should be wrong. Eating these ice creams, pies, cakes, shakes, candies should make me feel guilty. You didn't leave anything out. I couldn't believe it. But I started using this book about a month after starting the Diabetes Loophole. I lost 5 pounds when I started eating these. My husband, kids keep asking for more. Second to oxygen, water is the next most important nutrient your body needs. And you probably already know that diabetics have an increased risk of dehydration. As blood glucose remains high, your kidneys try to remove it through urination. And in the process, you lose a lot of fluids and get thirsty. Yet your kidneys depend on you having enough water in your body. When you go too long without enough water, the kidneys start to get stressed. And this is what leads to kidney disease, or kidney failure, or even death. But drinking more water can make your situation worse. That's because for water to work its healing magic deep within the cells of your body, it needs certain minerals to pull the water to the areas that need it the most. In fact, the more water you drink, the more you flush out these minerals. And this makes you even more thirsty and puts you more at risk. Healing through hydration shows you the right way to hydrate. Prepare to lose weight, have sharp, clean energy throughout the day, improve blood pressure, and much more when you know these hydration secrets. Listen to what Dean had to say. My blood pressure is down. My mind is clear and sharp. I'm losing weight. I'm rarely thirsty, and my blood sugar isn't spiking anymore. And I'm drinking less water. With the timing and minerals you told me about, for the first time in my life, I realize what it means to be hydrated. And of course, there's my 100% no questions asked guarantee. So here's how it works. Order today and use the material. If you aren't blown away and you don't get incredible results, simply email me within 60 days for a complete refund. Every cent will be deposited back into your bank account or put back on your credit card right away. No fine print, no BS. All you have to do to get started is click the big Add to Cart button that has just appeared below. You'll gain instant access to everything and will start the road to dominant health today. As soon as you click Add to Cart, you'll be able to download the entire program, go through the manual, and start using this powerful method as soon as possible to get control of this disease. Your children, your spouse, and you will be able to see for yourself the incredible results you'll get with the Diabetes Loophole. Listen, here's the deal. I don't believe I deserve your money unless I get you results. I take a tremendous amount of pride in this product. It took a long time to put it together. I've talked to a lot of doctors. I've done a lot of research. It was actually life-changing for me, and I've discovered there are simple techniques you can use to turn diabetes into a thing of the past. I know you're going to get great results with this. That's why I'm willing to give you such a safe, no questions asked guarantee. You can feel completely safe today, knowing that you're protected. And when you do invest in the Diabetes Loophole, you'll either get results or you'll get your money back. It's that simple. Now all you have to do to get started, again, is click the big Add to Cart button below, and you'll be able to get the Diabetes Loophole for the incredibly low price of just $37. And you'll get 5 bonuses as well. But you have to act now. So really, you've got a really simple choice to make. Option number 1, do nothing. Keep going the way you are now. Keep being frustrated, and you can risk things getting worse because you don't take action right now. Keep going on the internet, trying one thing after another, and just get more and more frustrated. I can tell you from the testimonials you've seen already and more that I will show you, a life bursting with health can be yours. Option number 2, you can take what you learned today and try it out yourself. You can take the basic ideas I talked to you about diabetic therapy and what it means to your body and go out and use it for yourself or a loved one. And you might get some decent results, but wouldn't you rather have a sure thing? Wouldn't you rather have a simple diabetes reversing system that literally thousands of people around the world have already used and have that in your corner as you make this happen? But of course, there's a third option. Option number 3, don't decide right now. Instead, take advantage of this offer to try it 100% risk-free today. Download and start to use the Diabetes Loophole for just $37 today and try it out. And then decide whether it is worth it. And within the next 60 days, should you feel it isn't, you can get every cent back. You have nothing to risk. So devour the material, put it into action, and see how little it takes for you to end the need for needles, end the need for expensive, dangerous drugs, end the need for finger pricking and test strips, end all your disappointing trips to the doctor, and most of all, put an end to feeling alone, misunderstood, and judged. Lou wrote in with this. This book answered many questions that I've been asking for years. Several different doctors have not answered my questions, and this book did. I highly recommend this book for all diabetics. My blood levels have come from 400 to 112 in just a few weeks. Does what medication has never been able to do for me. And Frank sent this in. I was diagnosed with prediabetes. I tried that ADA advice, but I actually increased the carbs I was eating, and it did not make sense. The sugar got worse. The advice about exercise suited me, so I kept following it. Now my morning blood sugar has lowered after 3 days already, after creeping up for almost a month. Thanks for writing this. Again, all you have to do to get started is click the big Add to Cart button below. You'll gain instant access to everything. As soon as you hit Add to Cart, you'll be able to get an email where you get the download link. Dwayne is a dad who was concerned about making changes while he and his wife had to cook for 2 sons. My dad was a diabetic, and I have been pre-diabetic, if there is such a thing. Having 2 small boys at the time, my wife and I decided to move to this type of healthy lifestyle so that they could have the best shot at health as they grow up. What their choices will be after they are grown is up to them. Like Khalil Gibran says, you are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. While we changed our lifestyle primarily for the sake of our boys, the benefits that we experienced were amazing. I lost 30 pounds. My wife didn't need to lose any, but her severe monthly cramps simply stopped. Both of our boys, 2 and 4 at the time, no longer had chronic ear infections. Almost all of my allergies went away. My blood pressure dropped. My sugars dropped to normal levels. Over time, my cholesterol dropped to 147. We were amazed. What is really amazing to me is the medical industry is still relying almost exclusively on medications to treat the symptoms of diabetes instead of focusing on the cause of diabetes like Reed does. This is clearly not your typical diet book, but advocates and lays out a step-by-step plan to take responsibility for our health back and start making better health choices. It's now fun to go to restaurants and pick out foods from across the menu that are healthy. You can download the entire The Diabetes Loophole program. Everything I've promised you right here, right now. You can go through in just a few minutes from now and get eye-opening results sooner than you'd imagine. It won't take you very long to go through the material, but the results will last a lifetime. Everything in this program is focused on giving you exactly what you need in order to get the kind of freedom you've been denied. And all you have to do to get what you want is click the Add to Cart button below. And if you're worried, just remember that you're backed up by the 100% money-back guarantee. Listen, if you're here, it's because you want to end this fight with diabetes. Or maybe it is someone else's diabetes. Maybe someone you love. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be free of diabetes. I can tell you one thing. Everyone who loves you and everyone you love wants you to be free as well. But you have to take the chance. Here are more heroes sharing their diabetes successes. Jamie witnessed his parents destroyed by diabetes. Here is his story about taking control. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 2 years ago after one elevated A1C. My readings since have been in the pre-diabetes range, and I have struggled to lose weight and get the numbers down. Metformin caused an almost immediate 10-pound weight gain and spiked my sugars to nearly 130, so I quit taking it. So I ordered this book and just started the program on Monday, 5 days ago. My blood sugar readings have gone steadily down, and today, for the first time in 2 years, my fasting reading was 99, and I've lost 3.2 pounds. I've met with 3 to 4 dietitians over the years, and was always told to eat 45 grams of carbs with each meal, and 15 with each snack. It never felt right to me, and it never changed my weight or blood sugar readings. I instinctively felt that this was bad information. His approach has made so much sense to me, and it is the only plan that has actually worked for me. When you see results, it is so encouraging. The plan is easy to understand and easy to implement. Best of all, I feel so good. I've watched diabetes ravage my parents physically, mentally, and financially. No regrets with this purchase, and I've been telling family and friends all over the place to buy this book. Tiffany writes in a short but sweet note to us. My blood sugar is down, weight coming off. It's new to me, but it is working and really makes so much sense. I really like the book. Tim was stuck in a cycle of eating junk foods and was concerned he was not going to be around for his 2 kids. This is what he wrote in. Best thing I ever did was buying this book. I'm 44 and had type 2 for a few years. My A1C just reached 7.1. I could not stop eating junk. Finally, after having foot issues starting, I decided to make the change. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old that need me to be around. I would have a blood reading of 200 or higher by bad food choices. I used food for everything, stress, entertainment, you name it. I started 5 days ago, and my fasting reading have gone from 147 to 100. I feel better than I have since I was young. Buy this book, save your life for yourself and loved ones. Update: I've received blood results. In 2 months of doing this book, I have reduced my A1C from 7.1 to 5.7. I've already shared my book and had a number of my coworkers buy this book. I think that in this presentation, I've shown you enough of how effective this material is. If you've watched this far, it shows that you're interested, and all you have to do is click Add to Cart button below. Go through the steps to download the Diabetes Loophole and start going through it tonight. You'll get everything tonight, and you'll be able to find out for yourself if the Diabetes Loophole is everything so many other people are saying it is. Suzanne wrote in, "This book is better than I ever dreamed. After the first 10 days, my blood sugar came down by almost 100 points. And Doug wrote this funny one in. Before you go down the road of drugs and expenses, try this book. I spent almost $100 on strips, reader, and the first supply of drugs, and then I decided to go online and see if there was another way. When I came across this book, on their personal website, this book cost $54, and it's worth that price. They guaranteed diabetes-free or your money back. How can one go wrong? Fast forward 6 months, on the recheck to the doctor, he informed me my A1C was down to 6.5 from 9.1, and that I should continue on with the meds he had prescribed. When I told him I hadn't taken any, he exclaimed, 'Get the F out!' Trudy emailed this to us. It's a conversation she had with her doctor. My doctor told me I couldn't cure my type 2 with diet alone, and he prescribed not 1 but 2 drugs. 1 for my diabetes, 1 to protect my kidney and liver. When I asked him why he was going to prescribe a drug to protect me from the drug, his answer was, 'That's what they tell us to do.' They? The drug companies, of course. I'm personally extremely confident. Why? Because I see it work every day. It's been wonderful, and it's worked for every single person I've shown this to personally. And the vast majority of folks who buy the Diabetes Loophole program and put it into effect in their own lives, literally do have fantastic results. I want you to have those results as well, and all you have to do is click the Add to Cart button below. Download the Diabetes Loophole program. Start going through it. Start using it in your own life and experience those results for yourself. Again, I'm Reed Wilson. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I can't wait to hear about your success.